Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to.
Join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is pod number 89. My name is Jay, and I'm here with my co-host, Lita Herman.
I was waiting.
I was just giving you a little anticipation there.
Yes, this is Lita Herman. And today we're building on Pod 87's topic of entering the mystery gate, but we're doing a series of elemental episodes.
Wow. Elemental episodes.
Yeah, based on entering the mystery gate. The concept
What is that?
Entering the mystery gate. Well, you have to go back to Pod 87, Jay, and listen to yourself explain
No, I was trying to get a book plug out of that.
Oh, okay.
Shameless plug there, right?
True. We do have a book called Through the Mystery Gate.
We also have meditations.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Good. I was just trying to slip that in. So yes, I will go back to 87 and listen because I always have to be reminded of what we're talking about.
And today is the Fire Element podcast. So this is about how to really examine yourself if you're fire when you're
in.
Yeah, when you're...
I haven't sang in a long time.
I'm so glad we got that out of the way right at the top of the... podcast.
Yes. Fire. That's all I can do. I don't know any other words of the song.
Well, everyone, tell us what song that's from if you're out there. So drop us a line
to see if you're paying attention.
Yeah, Lita at inspiredactionpodcast.com or Jay at inspiredactionpodcast.com. Okay.
So let's go back. So the idea is depending on whether you're wood, fire, earth, metal, or water, we don't want to forget about water. You're going to have different monsters, different goblins in your own dark tunnel. So how do we deal with those? And how do you get the courage to keep going? How to keep walking in that dark tunnel?
Yes. And so, we want to encourage you, if you haven't heard Pod 87, go back and listen to that. And if you think you're wood, you should also listen to Pod 88.
Yep.
Because we already covered wood. And today...
Because we always do wood first.
We always do wood first because they're the best.
They're all equal.
Yes, all equal, but just they think they're the best.
Maybe just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So anyway, go back and listen to those two podcasts if you'd like.
And wait, before we get into Pod 89, let's just talk about some of the exciting things we have going on in the world headquarters of the Inspired Action Podcast.
Okay.
You go first.
Oh, me first.
I know what I have, but you go first. I would just say right off the bat, please, if you have a moment and you get any kind of enjoyment out of this podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes. It does help get the word out. We have people listening all over the world, which is completely mind-blowing to me. But they hear about us on iTunes or they see the reviews or the little 5-star thing or 4-star. I'm not pressuring you. No pressure. Put whatever amount of stars you want. But if you like it, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really, really does help.
It does. And we have some very exciting news today. And we've been waiting.
For you, that's like what you're having for lunch.
We need a drum. Yeah, that's true.
What's your exciting news right now?
I had turkey for lunch. It's almost Thanksgiving now.
Wait. You had turkey before Thanksgiving?
I know. That's kind of like cheating, isn't it? Well, at least I didn't have a turducken.
There you go. I'm not going back to the turducken. I heard that already. No.
Okay.
Turducken.
All right.
If you don't know, it's a turkey shoved into a duck, stuffed into a chicken.
I think it's a chicken shoved into a duck.
Turducken. Turkey, duck, and chicken. Turducken.
Okay.
Did I say it wrong? Turkey, duck, chicken. Turducken.
All right. Let's. Right? I regret saying it.
No regrets. No regrets. No regrets. Someone would be like, "Oh, I always heard that. I didn't know what it meant."
All right. We need a drum roll, Jay.
Okay.
We don't have a drum roll.
I don't think I have a drum roll.
Okay.
But you go ahead. I have one ready for you, though.
Okay. So we have some big news, which is the Alchemy Learning Center, which is our amazing new place where you can connect with us and do some of our online classes and our meditations.
And things that you're going to announce in like 2 seconds.
Yes. We have now an app.
Yay. Here we go.
Yay.
Okay.
So we have a real live app and it's in the App Store and it's in Google Play. the Google Play Store. So you
it's
can
an
go.
iTunes App Store.
Yeah, you can go and download that on your iPhone or your Android, and you can connect with us through the Alchemy Learning Center. We're on there every day. We have put a lot of time into developing this app, and we'd love for you to check it out. We had a bit of a difficulty getting started with it.
Who doesn't, right?
But I think it's doing great right now. We have some free things in the app for you. We have the Dalian exercises.
Free is always good.
Yeah.
And we like free. We love free.
Yeah. The Dalian exercises is really exciting because you can basically do some Qigong and something called the 7 circles. And we're really challenging people to begin to move their bodies.
Move their chi. This is something that Lita
chi.
and I do every day. We do a little Kundalini. We do the 7 circles, the Dalian, and then we do Tai Chi, the Sun style.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's any interest or just shout us a question. Shout it out. Question.
And we will be doing a Tai Chi class coming soon. So we have kind of a lot of stuff in there. Now that you can also do some meditations. We talk a lot about our guided meditations. Those are going to be available. We're going to keep adding to that list. But right now you can get your Entering the Mystery Gate meditation.
Yay, nice way to bring that back.
Yeah.
Wait, before we go back into one more thing, the ghost points. We had a big ghost point workshop. Lita did a webinar with Lhasa OMS. We had over 1,200 people sign up. Then we had hundreds and hundreds actually come to the event. And then we did our 4-hour class, which was people all over the world. It was just amazing. And Lita did an amazing job. But if you missed it and you are interested in the Alchemy Learning Center website, alchemylearningcenter.com, it will be there probably this week. You can purchase it for a small fee and just have your mind blown. If you ever want to learn about the ghost points from Lita's perspective, it is awesome. So that's all I have to say. And also we have curated podcasts, a bunch of alchemists from all over the world. I keep saying that because it just blows my mind. You have people all over the world who are into our stuff. So alchemylearningcenter.com.
What's a curated podcast, Jay?
It was when you're in a hurry and you don't want to listen to all of it. And I think that was made for me.
All the wood people.
Curated wood podcast. If you're in a hurry and you don't want to scroll through, like, what was that one that Lita was talking about? Or you want to just learn about the 5 elements or just brush up on wood or anything like that.
Yeah. Or let's just say you're wood.
Right.
And you don't like to wait or you're very impatient.
Hey, how about wood first or second?
Yes. Then you can go to the pod list, which is free in the app.
Free. We like free.
And you can find very quickly the 5 element podcasts. And within that, it's easy to see which ones are wood.
All right. Well, we've just been going on and on and on. Let's get going.
Let's get going.
We need to go on fire.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk. I'm going to just do a quick thing. For anyone who's new to this podcast or new to the 5 elements, the 5 elements are your curriculum or your lessons for this lifetime. We also tie it into the 9 palaces of your heart. So if you choose that curriculum before you were born, and then in this lifetime, you spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out what your curriculum is. Because guess what? No one really tells you what it is.
It's so true.
People might try, but no one really tells you what it is. So you have to go on your own and try to figure yourself out. What a concept, right?
Yeah. In fact, your parents and siblings, they might have told you that you should be someone completely different from day one.
Yeah. So if you're fire, the fire element, I've been kind of saying first or second lately because sometimes you're not always authentic, so you might be in your second. But if your fire's in the top first or second, it's likely your curriculum has everything to do with being around people. Maybe your parents were not fire and they were more serious or scientific, or maybe they were really quiet and did research in a lab or something like that. That's a solitary life. That's not a fire life. I'm just saying.
Or not a happy fire life.
Right. No judgment here, but that is not being true.
And maybe they gave you advice and, said, you should be like me. And then, you follow.
What parent would ever say that?
Yeah, really.
Like all of them.
And if you follow their advice, then you might really hate your job.
Yeah. Or you should marry that, person and maybe you don't want to do that. Or don't follow their advice is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. Maybe your whole life doesn't even match who you are.
Yeah,
and that can happen.
That can happen. Yeah.
So it's really helpful to examine yourself in this way. And if you are new to the podcast, go back to season 1. And we talk a lot about the 5 elements and the 9 palaces. We do a deep dive and introduction to all of those things. So, this is more advanced. So again, if you're new to this, you can go back and learn a
And
little
you
bit
can
more about
find
it.
those on the app now.
Yes.
Yay. Or you can
Yay.
always go to the website,
Ye-
Inspired Action Podcast.
Yes. And so this step, what we're talking about today is the first step of alchemy. And in this first step of alchemy, it's just about having the willingness to examine your life more deeply. Sometimes looking more closely at yourself is really scary and tough and difficult. And fire people, they usually think they want to do that because they love to know more about themselves. But ultimately, they might discover that they've been lying to themselves a lot, and not like out and out lying to yourself. I mean, it's like it's like fires are fundamentally so optimistic. They may have created a lot of stories to make the bad stuff seem better than it really was. And so they might be quick to excuse, maybe their loved ones for things that they really did that weren't great. And they might excuse that because they're afraid of losing love.
You can also tie that into past trauma
Yeah.
from a family or a family
Yeah.
member. I think fire people get hurt. We're going to talk about that,
And that covering up in yourself, it's just lying to yourself. It's not necessarily to anyone else. That constant covering up. Sometimes they hit a wall.
Yeah.
And then it gets all kind of blown up and they see it.
And you might have to do that to survive, to tell yourself these stories. You might have to bury it.
Yeah.
And just to get through life.
For example, if you're having difficulties in a marriage or you have a child that has like an emotional problem or an addiction, it's terrifying to really examine the difficulties you're having in your life, because you don't want to jeopardize the relationships. Remember, fire is the relationship palace.
I think a lot of fire energy is about being liked.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to rock that boat of not being liked.
Yes.
So sometimes you maybe are not authentic in what you really want to say.
Yes.
But today we're talking about yourself.
Yeah.
Let's really focus on that.
So change can be really scary when it forces you to look at those little self-deceptions. So maybe it's better not to look too closely in the dark is kind of how people feel.
Yes.
Or you might think that you can just walk through the tunnel and there are no demons or monsters in there. And many people have told us that the first time they do this meditation, they're like, hey, it was great. I just walked through the dark tunnel and then there was light at the end of the tunnel and I was happy and everything was wonderful. And we're like, do it again.
And again, and again. There's usually something there.
Yeah. And it's just that you're not looking that closely. And that's okay because that's your nature with fire. But in fact, fires, doing this meditation exercise, they tell me, they walk through it and nothing bad was there. But then the second time or the third time, they start to really get into it.
And I think fires have this amazing active imagination. When they get into it, woo, things get crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, even though they always choose to see the good, or they usually do, which is wonderful, it's a wonderful way to live. But for fire, it's not so much fear of lack of safety when entering the tunnel. When we did the wood element, it was a lot about survival and safety. And
that's exhausting.
Yeah.
To be able to be in that survival mode all the time.
Yeah. And
vigilance. Yeah.
Right. And fires can have, lack of safety too. And in the beginning, that might be what comes up for you if you're fire. But we often ask fires to do it a number of times, and then typically more stuff about relationships might come up.
Right.
Or
we're asking you to go to that vulnerability, that vulnerability of the heart, and so it's definitely going to have to do with love and relationships.
Yes. So if you ask a fire whether they're more scared of a spider on the wall or of all their friends hating them, which one do you think they're going to pick, Jay?
They're picking the friends.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure the idea that anyone hates them is the worst kind of monster that will show up in the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're friends with all the spiders. And then maybe that would no, those spiders they won't like me.
There you go.
It's really about relationships.
That's it.
Love.
I never thought of that. Okay.
Hey, some people like spiders.
Yeah. I can imagine there might be one person in the world who likes
Not
spiders.
me.
Not Jay. Okay. So for fire, the real fears are how you're perceived by others, your relationships, whether people like you, whether you like yourself. So it's about examining your goodness and your beauty inside yourself.
That's huge, actually. Say that again.
Yes, it's about examining your goodness and your beauty inside yourself. There's this way that fires think that they have to be good and they have to be beautiful in order to be liked.
And if they're not being authentic, boy, that can really go down the slippery slope of like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They can be a little, they don't really take care of themselves too much. They might not dress like they used to dress. They might not really care.
They give up.
They give up.
They
Yeah.
give up on their beauty or even trying to be good and trying to, they stop caring whether people like
Yeah.
them. That's not a great place for fire.
No.
Unless they're doing it from a very high place where they love themselves so much that they don't care if someone doesn't like them, which is great.
Yes.
Which is awesome. But when they kind of like are apathetic and don't care about anyone liking
We're
them.
just telling you some of the landmines out there
Yeah.
to keep an eye out for.
So, so I just, in the context of this exercise, this is about today, you going into your mystery gate tunnel and what are you going to find there? So that's what we're talking about. What are the fears that are typical? Now, this can be totally different based on trauma. We might not be talking about something that you, a fire person, particularly have fear of because of some trauma in your past. We're just talking generally. What do fires in general encounter in their darkness?
Yeah, what's going to have you screaming from the dark tunnel?
Yes.
It's the heartbreak, it's the bullies, it's the trauma.
Of not being yourself.
The people pleaser. We haven't mentioned the people pleaser.
Yes.
That's a big thing with fire.
Yeah, because when you're a people pleaser, there's a trauma of not being yourself, of trying to be what other people want you to be. And then over time, that really gets to you. So
that's when you're going to your fifth party of the weekend because you can't say no because you don't want them to not like you. And your other partner's like, what the heck? How many another party? But just for an hour. And that turns into 4 hours. And anyways, I'm just kidding. Maybe that's true. Maybe not. I'm just.
Yeah. Or it's like Janis Joplin on a Monday.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine she was,
pretty haggard.
But she was also one of the top fire people in the world with a lot of heartbreak and a lot of, ability to totally entertain the world and then be alone on Monday.
Yeah.
When the weekend's over.
Well, the weekend never ended.
Yeah, right.
Started on Friday.
Right.
And maybe Thursday night.
Ended Monday.
That's right.
But I imagine that there was a lot of sadness there for her because that's what happens with fire. They might be the life of the parties, but then at the end of the party, they might go home alone.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for fires. So that might be what's in the tunnel, that fear of being alone. So if you're brave enough to enter the mystery gate.
You are, you know it. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't at least thinking about it.
Yes. Then you may not want to see who you truly are. And what if you think no one is going to like the real you?
Just remember, you're born perfect.
Yes. So, I wrote about this topic for myself because I'm fire. So all you fire people out there, woo woo. Okay, so I wrote about what it was like for me, what was hidden in my dark tunnel. And what was hidden there is the pain that bullying in school caused me as a child.
Which is crazy right now because bullying is still very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And there. It's still there.
It's still out there. And at one point, all my friends refused to speak to me for a month in school, and I was completely ostracized by the whole school. I never knew what I did to cause that to happen, which, by the way, is the worst thing for fire because at least if they knew what they'd done wrong, they would never do it again. So not knowing what I'd done wrong, it was so painful for me because I'm fire and relationship is like paramount for me. And then the rest of my life, until I started doing alchemy, I was working to prevent that from happening again, but I didn't even know how to prevent it from happening again. So it was completely anxiety provoking, a deep level of social anxiety.
So what do you think your monsters in the tunnel were?
Yeah, my goblins in the tunnel are really my lack of my own authenticity in trying to please everyone. And ultimately, the big monster was fear of being ostracized again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. And it's pretty common.
Yeah. So what's going to help a fire person through this step of alchemy? It's about recognizing that you really want to have the best relationship of all, not the love of your life person, but being in love with yourself.
I've told that to many, many clients.
Yes.
Fall in love with yourself.
Yes. By recognizing that basically you may have been having a lack of self-love, even though you were seeking love so much externally. By seeing that you could examine these, monsters, quote unquote, which, may not have green heads and, live under your bed, but they're part of you. They're your deep fears. So
don't look under the bed.
Don't look under the bed. We're trying to uncover these.
Go get a flashlight and look under the bed.
Yeah,
now.
Really. There you go. Get your flashlight. Uncover the truths about yourself and your relationships. And eventually you can find a deep, fulfilling self-love. And that once you love yourself like that, then the love of your life will show up if they haven't already, because anyone who loves themselves and life that much attracts wonderful people to them. So that's the motivation for why you would do this work.
You might also up your friend game, like that. It might not be like the romantic love that you find, but it might be some, positive, self-affirming, wonderful people that you attract as well.
That's true, because again, if you're not being authentic, you may have attracted a lot of people that really weren't matching your true self, but your, I don't want to say false self, but the self that you were putting forth in the world. So these alignments with people that really didn't match you kept coming up. And so once you sort of clear through the mystery gate stuff and you start getting more authentic, then you're going to have great friends,
Right.
Friends that really match your true self. So
that was great. Yeah, it's true. That's what we really work on. Yeah.
So, look at what you're doing to find love right now, and then think about how you want to heal the love you already have inside you for yourself. And in the end, it's going to be, that you want to love yourself. And
Absolutely.
that's the healing.
Well, and I just feel like we see your beauty. We see how wonderful you are. You need to see it.
Yes.
And so go through the mystery gate, enter your tunnel,
and
check it out.
And
fall in love with yourself.
Fall in love with yourself. I mean, ultimately, maybe you're afraid you're the monster. Someone told me that, yesterday or day before, that they were afraid they're the monster.
Well, that could be, because if a fire person, I think the fire, when they're not being authentic, they're the meanest of the elements.
Right. And
so they could be being really mean to people because they just don't want to even possibly remotely take that chance that someone could get close to them.
Right. Because if your heart closes down due to heartbreak, then you're not in touch with that true loving self, which means the meanness comes out.
Yeah. And fire people are party, happy, loving, kind, beautiful, wonderful people.
Yes.
So we got to get that out. Let's got to let that out in the world. Be patient, be kind. It'll come.
Yeah. So that's it for today. And next up, we're going to be doing Earth. And what the scary monsters for Earth?
Round and round. So maybe if they're not moving round and round,
the Earth moves under my feet.
Oh, that's it. All right, let me hear it.
I think that's Carol
King. She's totally Earth.
Okay.
She's like a poster child for Earth, I think.
So next up, the Earth moves under my feet.
See, there you go. But for elemental, the Earth moves round and round.
Okay, there you go.
I don't know. We're going to cut this out, so you will never hear this.
I think that's the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Oh, yeah. The wheels, they do go round and round.
Okay.
How many times do they go around and round?
Oh, my God. I think we're being slapped silly here. All right, it's time to go.
Non-violent podcast.
Non-violent. Right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you for the next podcast on Earth.
Well, technically, we won't see you, but you'll hear us.
Exactly.
Okay. Have a good day.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.